requirement elicitation activities. So I think the starting of that module itself, we have seen what are the requirement elicitation activities. Remember this, these are the following activities. So
Identifying use.
now these things we are going to see in little detailed concept, how exactly you're going to use that activities. So first one is like identifying actors. So identify actors in the sense, for an example, if we are going to develop a product or a project for an, so you have to find out first who will be the actor. Actor in the sense he is an external person who is going to make use of that machine, right? Or that machine is required some external, external device. Machine will make use of that. So like that, we have to first find out who is going to use that machine and for whom this machine is going to be used. So first we have to find out the actors. Then we have to find out the scenarios. One by one we'll see. So now for an example, we have already seen a satellite watch. You remember the concept of satellite watch? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So satellite watch. So as we have already discussed about the satellite watch doesn't have any button to it. But when the user is moved from one zone to another zone or one country to another country, the watch will automatically update according to its time zone. So from where it will get updated? According to the location where the watch currently gets connected, according to that it will be updating. Who is that Webify watch? It is nothing but it's also kind of a device which will download the current time from the internet and it will be in turn update your watch. That will be done by a Webify watch. So here they have represented watch owner, GPS and Webify watch is going to be the actor, and the satellite watch, the device is going to be the complete use case. The device was satellite watch. So here first what they have to do, once they have got the requirement from the user, they have to decide exactly who is going to be act as an actor. Let it be the primary actor or the secondary actor, but they have to decide who and all is going to be the actor. So the actor may be a human or an external system. As I told you, sometime your robo maybe act as your actor also, because the process automatically. So that time your robo itself an actor. So to switch on the robo at that time, your user will be acting as an actor and robo will act as a machine. So according to the situation, this actors and the machine devices will be keep changing. But in this scenario, the scenario what we are discussing over here there is no need a system to be a actor. Means like satellite watch will not be to be an actor because that is going to be used by all these three actors. Why it is given as an actor? Because these people or these devices or these equipments are going to use or make use of that your satellite watch. That is the meaning of this actors. So here watch owner is going to be the primary actor and Webify watch is going to be your secondary actors, right? So in this arrow diagram you can clearly see that watch owner is moving from one place to another, so that your satellite watch will be changing from one time zone to the another time zone. So when it changes from one time zone to another time zone, how it will get to know the timing, how it have to know the timing means that it have to interact with the GPS. Means that your watch have to be connected with your GPS. So once the time location or the zone is completely changed, the Webify watch, it's again a device or a software which will be in turn download the current time for the particular location and in turn update your smartwatch. So this is a rough idea. So if I'm having a watch kind of a thing, I can have these people are going to be my external devices or external entities which is going to satellite watch. So this is the first thing when you have from the person, the first thing you have to define who is going to be the actor. And another example they have given fire, that is friend distribution. You remember, a field officer will be seeing some fire accident somewhere. He will be immediately reporting the report emergency. Then that immediately the dispatcher will read the incident and he will allocate the resources, and he will be documenting the inspections, whatever has happened at that particular place. You remember that example?
Yes, ma'am.
Bob,
Yes, ma'am.
Alice. Yes, yes. So now, if that was the scenario, if that was the use cases, or that was the problem you are going to implement a project, then you have to find out who and all will be going to act as a actors. So here, the field officer is going to make use of that friend function, and through that friend he is going to report the emergencies, and this dispatcher is also going to use that friend, through which he will get the information about the incident whatever has happened. And according to the incident, if it is a fire accident, then he have to allocate a fire engine as a resources. If it is some other road accident, according to that he have to intimate an ambulance. Like that, the dispatcher have to allocate the resources using the information which is already filled inside your friend function. So once you collected the requirement from the client, you first thing what you have to do is you have to define the actors, who is the external person who is going to use your system, who is going to use your project. That is the first thing you have to decide it. Second one, so they have given few examples how you can identify actors, means which user will be selected by the system to perform their work, means who and all is going to use this system to perform their work. So what are the system's main function, which are the group is going to use the system's main function, then who is going to perform the secondary functions, such as that is administration, maintenance part, and which what I mean with what external hardware or a software system will interact. So here in your watch we have taken the software system is going to be the GPS and the Webify watch. That is going to be the software system, but it is not a physical person. It is also a kind of a software, but for that particular project, it is acting as an actor. So like this, if you have a set of questions to be answered through the requirements whatever you have collected, then you can easily come across with the types of actors. And the actor can be an object, I mean the component, the means the subsystem. Within the subsystem also you can have different actors. So that for example, if you are saying a database, if I wanted to store something into the database, my database sometime will be act as an object. But when you're trying to retrieve something from the database, or database will be sending some acknowledgement information back to the that device, then that time your database may act as an actor also. So sometime it will be act as an object, or sometime it will be act as an actor. So we have to clearly define for which subsystem this database is going to be an actor, and for which subsystem this database is going to be an object. Like that, internally for every minute consideration also to be considered when you are going to find out the actors. So this is the first thing what we have to do it. Next one is identifying scenarios. So scenarios, as we already discussed about scenarios, like ATM scenario, I told you, if you have sufficient balance, the amount have to be withdraw. If you are not having the sufficient balance, then it have to send the message that the amount is less than what you have quoted. So you have to re-enter the amount what is required, right? So like that, we have to define the scenarios. There will be loop scenarios or alternative scenarios. Like that, we have to define the scenarios. So now once the scenario is defined, once what all the scenarios is defined, then these scenarios can be clubbed into a use cases. So first, an example of scenario is showed over here. This is warehouse on fire. That is some storage part is on fire. So now the person, the field officer, that is Bob or an Alice, is a field officer who is traveling in that particular place, noticed a fire on that particular storage area. So he is going to do certain flow of events. So what are the flow of events will be done? Bob, while driving, he saw there is a fire. He immediately informed it to his partner allies, and through allies, he's activated the report emergency. That is the friend use case. So he's reported the emergency to the friend. So immediately the information from the friend, you will be getting a form from which location it is happening, what type of fire, I mean, what exactly happening, whether it's a fire or accident. All this information will be filled, and once it is filled and submitted to the friend, immediately that notification will reach to the dispatcher. That is, dispatcher name is given as John. This object name is explicitly given as John. So once the dispatcher sees the alert message, the report and find out what type of an incident it is and what type of an resources need to be allocated. So if it is a fire, obviously fire engine have to be allocated as resources. Then once this is done, your allies, that is the person who's enter that incident, will get an acknowledgement that so within 10 minutes you will get the resources at that spot. Like that you will get the responses. So this is one of the scenario. When fire comes, this is the scenario is going to happen. Other type of an incident might be road accident. Another type of an incident might be something like animal get caught or animal get accident on the road. Like there are so many incidents may be there. So according to the incident, the type of the resources have to be allocated. So these are the different scenarios. So these scenarios have together under a use case. For an example, if there is a fire incident is reported and you cannot exactly what is happening because of what this comes into the picture. So it as it's like a fire accident. So you exactly doesn't know because of what this fire accident has happened, for what this might be happen, or it may lead to extreme fire which may try to occupy the rest of the places also. So exactly you cannot do, but you can state that within 5 minutes or within 2 minutes, I need the resources to be accomplished this particular place. That can be also be done through your friend function. That is friend in the sense I'm saying it is a use case, the name of the device. You remember that diagram? Fire, that is field officer will be there. In between the friend use cases
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
there. Then
Yes, ma'am.
followed by the dispatcher, right? So you just imagine that that was the situation. So here it's like if it is a fire in two things. If it is a fire incident and it's in high priority, you have to intimate to the fire officer. An intern fire officer will be intimating to the dispatcher, and you have to get the resources. Like that, there will be so many scenarios. If it is low priority incident, then you don't want to inform to any of the police officials. Directly, you can go to the dispatcher and request for the resources to clear the particular event. So like that, there are so many scenarios. So each scenarios can be clubbed into a use cases. So they have shown you some scenario types. What are the types of scenarios it can be? So first is as a scenario. So as a scenario, in the sense, it is going to describe you the current situation, currently what is happening. So where this as a scenarios is going to be used. You remember about re-engineering? We have seen greenfield engineering, re-engineering, interface engineering. You remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
So what is mean by re-engineering? Already something is existing. I just wanted to update it or correct it. Then it is called as re-engineering. So as this scenario, when you're going to use it, currently I'm using the product for so and so. I want this product to be extended for other usages. Then that particular scenario is called as a scenarios, because already that project is being used for some other scenarios. You're trying to include some more scenarios to the existing one. Then that type of scenarios is called as your as a scenarios. What is mean by visionary scenarios? Visionary scenarios is nothing but describe about your future. Means greenfield. It is explicitly used for greenfield engineering. There you're going to do it from the scratch. You didn't have any existing product for the requirement. You're going to implement the product from the scratch. Then it is called as your visionary scenarios, because you're going to vision how the product will be used in the future, and then you're going to build it. So nothing but if user task, if the what and all user will do with the system, According to that, you're going to evaluate it. If in case my password, whatever ATM, in your ATM machine, whatever I have inserted my card, I mistakenly given the wrong pin, then what it have to react it. So if the user entered a wrong pin, what it should do, the system should eject the card again, or it have to request the person to re-enter the pin again. So like that, according to the user's task, according to the user's input, you're going to evaluate the scenarios. So then it is called as evaluation scenario. The training scenario is nothing but a step-by-step instruction, how to use the product, how to use your project, like tutorial kind of step-by-step instruction is given. Then it is called as training scenario. As I told you, you can give the training like, in case if you enter a wrong pin number, then immediately your card will get ejected. Then you have to reinstall the card and then you have to enter the correct pin number. Like that, you're giving a training to the client. Then it is called as training scenarios. At that time, your client may ask, even if I have some other way of, if in case instead of the proper way of inserting the card, I have turned it on the wrong side, I'm trying to insert, what might happen? So next, the person who is implemented can say that automatically the machine will not accept the card. The machine will be pulling it outside. Like that, they have to train the client how to use the system and what will be the task user have to perform it correctly. So these are the scenarios for different types of scenarios. During your requirement phase itself, you have to decide it, whether it is access scenarios you are going to do it, or a visionary scenario you are going to do it, or evaluation scenario and training scenario will be there for all type of project, whether you are going to do it from the scratch, or whether you're already having certain project and you're trying to do, or adding extra features to that. So everywhere you will be having an evaluation scenario and training scenario. So you have to define whether it is a visionary scenario or access scenario. So once your scenarios are done, next you're going to have your use cases. So here they have given some questions. So how you can define or identify the scenarios. So what are the tasks the actor wants the system to perform? As we know that if I didn't have a sufficient balance in my account, what the system should respond. If I have sufficient balance in my account, what the system should respond. So like that, I have to ask certain question. So according to the answer for the question, I can make different types of scenarios. Like what information does the actor access? Who creates the data? How it can be modified or removed? So external changes does the actor need to inform the system, or how often the changes? Like this, you have to answer certain questions to be find out the scenarios. So different scenario examples are given. As I told you, there are different types of accidents may happen. So these are one example, like 4 scenarios they have shown. If fire is there, then fire is detected and 2 of field officer arrive at the scene and request for the resources. In case it is fender bender means it is an accident on the highway. So if it is an accident on the highway, police officers document the incident and manage the traffic, and the damaged vehicle will be taken away. So this is means like car accident on the highway. Next, a cat in a tree. So cat in a tree in the sense it got stuck in a tree. So immediately they have to rescue the cat. So it is low, even though it is a low priority. But meantime, if the cat was not stuck for a long time, it tried to climb on the tree or breaks or fall down or something may happen. So if it falls down or some accident for the cat, then they have to go for ambulance to be dispatched. So like that, there are different types of an incidents may happen. Then earthquake is again a seriously damaged building roads. So according to that, who have to be notified about the earthquake The means like the governor have to be notified, the higher officials have to be notified about the earthquake and the damages what and all has happened. It should not only to the police officer level, it should go to the higher level. The level of incident will be different, the priority of incidents will also be different. According to that, your system should respond. For example, if an earthquake has happened, a field officer goes to that particular place and he noted an earthquake happened. He entered in the details into the front function and he tried to ask some resources from the dispatcher. So once he entered, according to the type of the incident, automatically the higher official. If it is an earthquake, it have to be intimated to the government sector. If it is a fire engine, it have to be intimated to the fire officers. If it is a normal accident on the road, then if they want ambulance, it have to be intimated to the ambulance manager or ambulance police person who is going to control that. So like that, your device should have automatic operations by itself in order to develop or in order to use this particular application in proper way. Right. So once your scenarios are done, you are going to group all your scenarios into a use case. So what type of use cases you're going to use is, so here, as we told, when fire is happened, or a cat is stuck in a tree, or an earthquake came, or fender bender accident has happened, all these things comes into a single use cases, which is called as your report emergency. So if I'm finding out this report emergency, it can be a cat stuck, it can be an earthquake, it can be a fire, anything. But all these scenarios are come into a single use cases. Whether all have to come into a single use cases, no. As we started, you remember that we have so many use cases. So inside one use cases, you can have different scenarios. Like that, you can have how many use cases? You can have any number of use cases according to the project or according to the requirement for the from the client side. Right. So here they have shown you one of the use cases, like how exactly the use cases have to be. So here, report emergency. So these are the fields. We have seen the fields of use cases also already. So first you need to have the use case name. Then you need to have the who are going to be the actors. Then you need to have flow of events. Then what is entry condition, what is exit condition, and what is a quality checking. So what is entry condition? When you logged in, that is an entry condition. What is exit condition? Once you get the acknowledgement, or if any transaction fails, or you cannot process it, like that also can be an exit condition. And what is the quality requirement? Within 30 seconds or within 15 minutes, you have to get the resources. After 15 minutes or after 1 hour or 2 hours, if you are getting the resources, there is no use of particular application. And here they have shown the flow of events. What is the flow of events? Once the field officer sees that accident is happening in the particular area, he immediately takes his mobile and start reporting the particular report emergency. Then immediately that friend, that is a device, that is an application name, that friend will be representing a form to the field officer, what location it is, what type of an accident it is, so what type of resources required, like that he have. Once he has submitted it, he have to submit the form. Once he has submitted it, that friend function is inform it to the dispatcher. He will notify that certain emergencies occurred. So immediately dispatcher opened that form, and he is going to find out what type of an incident and what type of resources it is required for. Then it is going to allocate the resources and respond back to the field officer. So this is the flow of events. Whether this should be the flow of events, no, you can even change the flow of events according to your wish. So this is the use cases. Once you are defined with the use cases, so what and all the rules you have to follow, how the use cases should be. So here simply they have given what are the rules to be in the use cases. So if I'm saying the use case name, instead of report emergency, I'm just saying it as accident. So the name is not exactly meaning what we have wrote a use case for the library, issue book. So instead of issue book use case, I'm just giving it as book. So if any person, any actor sees that use case name is book, will not come to know whether it is an issuing book, or it is a returning book, or it is for search book, or it is for available books. He doesn't know. So the name of the use case should be very, very clear, says that what exactly that particular use case operation is going to do. So the name of the use case should be very, very clear. So here they have given an example. For the first point, they have given an example. The use case name is accident. So accident means what exactly? It is related to what type of an accident, or it is informing you about accident. It is going to give you some information about accident, doesn't know. So your use case should be very, very apt or appropriate for exactly what type of an operation is going to be done. And again, they have given the use case name should be with verb phrases only. So like report emergency. In your Java, we will be calling this as upper camel case. The first letter, two words, if it there mean the first word starting letter will be in the capital letter. Second word starting letter will be in capital letter. We will call it as upper camel case. So mostly the name have to be what the use case is going to do. Similar to your actors, actor name also should be with the noun phrases. Proper name should be given. So dispatcher, why it is given as dispatcher? Because the person who is going to give you the resources according to the incident what has happened. So he's going to dispatch the resources. So he is called as dispatcher. Why the officer name is given as field officer? You can even give the name as normal officer. Instead of dispatcher also you can give the name as normal officer. But why it is given as field officer? Because field officer is the person who is roaming around the complete area and find out is going to happen, and he is the person to enter operation, means to enter into your friend function. So if you see it is a field officer, you come to know, oh, okay, this is the person or this is the officer who goes for roaming around the particular area and find out any incident is happening or not. So, and then the boundary of the system should be very, very clear. So what is the boundary of the system? In the sense, what are the steps your actor should do? What are the steps your dispatcher should do? That is a flow of events. You can find what actor should do. He should log in and he have to enter the report. Then immediately the system will respond to the dispatcher and you will like that. Everything have to be defined clearly. So you have to have the complete transaction. The complete transaction used over here. Next, any use case should not exceed to 2 or 3 pages. Means like you can have 2 or 3 pages or more than that. But if it is more than that, you can able to divide one use case into another use case. For example, if I started creating a use case, I just limited my use case to 5. So once I started, collecting the scenarios for that particular use cases, I find like the number of scenarios for that particular use cases is exceeds. It may exceed some 10 scenarios together can be made as a single use cases, or 20 scenarios can be grouped together to form a single use cases. Then you can divide that one use cases into another use cases so that you can reduce the size of the use cases by having a few scenarios to that particular use cases. So why you have to divide it? Because you are trying to put all the scenarios into a single use case. It is a burden. It is a burden for that particular use case implementation team. So again, why we are going for dividing into the modules of your project, the same problem will come into the use cases also, where you have to implement one use cases with so many scenarios. Right? So this is the way how you are going to write your use cases. This example they have given as a poor use cases. Poor use cases means here they have given like flow of events is the field officer reports the accident. Okay, what type of an accident it is? Don't know. Ambulance is dispatched. For what ambulance is dispatched? Who dispatched the ambulance? So there is no proper flow of events. So this is as the use cases. It is not following the rules of the use case. Called as a poor use cases. So, and first, once you got the requirements, first step what you have to do, you have to find out who are the external entities going to add to your devices, which is called as identifying actors. Once you have identified actors, you have finalized these are the actors going to use in my device or the project. Second one, you have to find out the scenarios. Scenarios means what and under what condition my system will be responded, under what condition my system will act, under what situation my system may be used by the external entities. Like that, I have to define the scenarios. So third point is once I have defined the scenarios, the third point I have to group all the scenarios, not all the scenarios, related scenarios into a use cases. So how many use cases can be there? You can have any cases. But if the use cases is having more scenarios, then you can divide one use cases into another, I mean, one or two use cases further in order to reduce the complexity of understanding. And for writing the use cases, you have the that is elements of the use cases, that is name, participating actors, flow of events, then entry condition, exit condition, quality requirement. And the use case name should be very, very proper. It should exactly say what type of an operation that use case is going to be done. Like participating actor also should be explicitly mentioned, and the flow of event should be described what have to be done. Then entry condition, exit condition should also be mentioned. So these all things have to be done in your use case. Now until use case is done, next what I'm going to do, I'm going to refine my use cases. Whether I have to refine my use cases, if you feel as a project manager, if you feel already you have done your use cases with the maximum of information, I don't want to have further more information for the developer team. That means who is going to code, who is going to create the source code. I don't want to give further more any information for that people. Then you can don't want to go for the refining use cases team. So if in case you wanted to have some refining the use cases, I have missed some points to be entered, then you can have a refining use cases. So what might be inside the refining use cases? The same, you can see here, the same example only is given here, but a little changes. Here initiated by field officer, communicates with dispatcher. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to refine the use cases. So what I have to do, I'm going to say Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharing is screen is not visible, right?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes. So here they have included not only saying like the form will be presented to the officer, they say that the form will be includes an emergency menu where he can select whether it is for fire accident or it is for transportation, or you can even select what location it happened, what are the resources he required for overcoming this particular problem, like that. uh, they are telling the developer to have a combo box or a list of options to select from the form. Instead of a person to get type, he can select from the form. So like that, you can still, you can see in the fourth one, friend receives the form and notifies the dispatcher. How it is notified the dispatcher? If I have not said like how it is going to notify the dispatcher to the person who is going to writing the code for this, he may include a dialog box, or he may include an alarm, or he may include a beep, or he may send the message. Like some way he can find out. But here use cases clearly says that you have to notify to the dispatcher by a pop-up dialog box. So automatically when I'm trying to write the code, I will not have any confusion that how I can notify to the dispatcher. Okay, by seeing this I can come to know I have to give a pop-up dialog box. So like that, you're giving still more information to the developing team in order to reduce their work. In case if I have not given all the information, then what will happen? all this in meeting. I will be raising a query meeting and I will be asking how the dispatcher have to be informed, how the dispatcher will be notified with the incident happened. Like that, I wanted to ask the requirement team. In turn, they will be responding me back, like you can have a dialog box. So instead of having a meeting and getting the information, all the information is already given through the use case description itself, so that I don't wanted to go and have a meeting unnecessarily to know all this information. So when you wanted to have a refining use cases, if you already included all this information in your use cases, then you don't want to have a refining use cases. But in case if you wanted to include the complete details, how it should be, the pop-up menu should be, what are the options in the pop-up menu, all this information have to be given to the developer, then you can add all this information through your refining use cases. Right? So this is after use cases, you have to go for refining use cases. As I told you, what is going to do in this refining use cases, it is going to save your time, that is your developer's time. He don't want to think whether the message should be arrived in the form of a beep sound or an alert message or a dialog box, or how I have to give the information. But here now he don't want to have the confusion at all. He'll clearly come to know this is the way I have to give the information to the dispatcher. So there is no second thought how. So clearly he gets the answer. So here the following heuristics thinking how your scenarios and use cases can be written. So your use case scenario, use scenarios to communicate with user and to validate the function. First, refine a single scenario to understand the user's assumption about the system. Then in that case, adapting the user interfaces. And then, for example, as I told you, few may not know to type the messages. So if few may not know to type the messages, then what can I have? What is the other scenario will go to? I have to use my vocal information. I have to tell in my voice, that voice have to be automatically been in the form of a typed messages. You should convert into the form of a typed messages, and that can be forward. Okay, this is one of the scenario. So if the person is very good in communication, but maybe he don't have the proper spelling, then if that particular person is trying to type the messages, then what may happen? You need to have an inbuilt spell checker. So that spell checker have to correct the spelling, whatever mistakes is done from the actor side. Like that, these are the scenarios you have to consider before developing a before developing a project. So these scenarios can be clubbed into a single use cases. Right? So these are the heuristic for developing scenarios and use cases. You have to use, you have to think so many perspective and outside the box. As I told you, when you're trying to implement a phone for sending a message, pager and all, you would have remembered. So when you're trying to implement a pager kind of device, you wouldn't have think about the person who doesn't know proper way of typing. So at that time we have not thought like, instead of typing the message, I can even tell the message, like vocally I can tell the message, so in turn it will convert into the text form. So that and all, thinking outside the box. You should not only stuck into the requirement what exactly the client is given, but you can even think, if this person is not possible to do this one, what is the alternative one you have to do. Like that, you can have so many alternative scenarios, and alternative scenarios can be clubbed into a use cases. Right? So here they have given initially why you need to have the refinement. What is the use of your refinement phases, they have given actually here. So this is the example. Already we have seen why we wanted to have the refinement. So for that, they have given the elements that are manipulated in the system. They are shown in the figure 4.10. That only we have seen there. That means the interaction between the actor and the systems are specified, but not exactly how it is going to be. You have not told that how the what is the access right to your field officer. Field officer access right is only to open the form, enter the form. He doesn't have the rights to allocate the resources. Like that, we would have missed certain things when we are trying to have your use cases initially. So all that missed things can be fulfilled in your refining use cases team. You can have a separate team for that, and that team will be, or that particular phase will complete the missed point which is done in your normal use case developing. So once your use case is done, once your scenarios is done, once you refine your use cases, everything is done. Now next, what you have to do, you have a separate actor, you have a separate machine, you have a separate secondary actor. Now you have to find out the relationship between them. We have already seen certain relationship: extend relationship, include relationship. Remember that? Yes, extends and include relationship, you remember? Can anyone tell what is extends and include relationship? Yes.
Ma'am, in extension relationship, whatever is there, that we are using it. But in include, we are including the things, extra, that is new things.
Means like in your include relationship, certain things is mandatorily you need to have for that particular use cases. Then you will be using it as include relationship. So in extend relationship, may not happen. It may happen. There is an option. It may happen. Then that type of things can be included using extends relationship, right? So include relationship is must to be there. Extends relationship may happen. If it happen, it have to be there. So that is the difference of extends and include. So here they have shown another two relationship. One is initiate, another one is participate. So can you see this and tell what might be that initiate and participate?
Ma'am, field officer, he is the one who will ask for the dispatcher for service. So he initiates the activity. So the participant means in between whoever comes, he'll act as a participant for that.
Yes. So exactly what is the meaning over here? If field officer is going to be the person who going to see the incident which has happened in that particular area, and he's going to report that emergency. So he's going to log into that particular application and says that this particular location, some accident has happened. Then he is going to be the initiator. Nobody else can open the application and say that that particular problem has happened. So he is going to be the initiator. And dispatcher, he is not going to initiate that operation, but he's going to open that and he's going to see what type of an incident has happened. According to that, he's going to allocate the resources. So he's going to participate in that. He's not the initiator, but dispatcher have to allocate the resources and he have to make a document of that incident. For that, for both these use cases, your dispatcher is going to be the initiator. Which actor is going to use that use cases is going to be the initiator. Which actor is going to participate in that? He can view that particular operation, or you can use, he can use that particular operation. Then he comes as your participant actor. So actors, once your use cases is defined, you have to find out who is going to initiate that particular use cases and who is going to participate into that particular use cases. And already we know what is extend relationship and your include relationship. So what is extend relationship? When a person trying to give a report emergency, at that time suddenly internet connection gone, or your battery is low in your mobile, or your some problem has happened inside your friend application. So immediately you need to get the information like your connection is down, or your power is going down, or the application is not responding properly, your application is goes down, like that. Some information you have to get in turn. For that, you need to have a connection down in use cases. So which is called as extends relationship. It is not exactly inside your product, but it can be outside that, and it can be used as an extend relationship to your particular use cases. It is not mandatory. Every time connection will go down? No. Every time your application will have some problem? No. Every time your application will not respond to you? No. It is an exceptional case. Whenever some exceptional case comes into the picture, what you have to do it, if that have to be done, then you have to use your extend relationship. What is the include relationship? If you want to allocate the resources to a particular location, you should know which location the fire accident is happened, or which location the accident is happened. You should know the exact location where this problem is happened. To know the exact location, you need to know the map. So without the map, you cannot know which area. It might be in Bangalore, which part of the Bangalore is having problem. We will not know without the map. So map you need to have. It is must to be have as the use cases inside your application. Then you have to use your include relationship. So exclude relationship when will come into the picture? When it will having an exception cases. Exceptionally, it may happen or it may not happen. If this has happened, what you have to do? That comes as your extents. Include relationship will come into the picture when you need to have, that is must. You need to have a map when you want to allocate the resources. Without knowing the location where I can send the fire engine, where I can send the ambulance. Without the location, I cannot ask the ambulance or the fire engine is go to Bangalore East. Fire is happening in Bangalore East. Bangalore East where? Which particular area, which particular location, which particular latitude it is happening. So we should exactly tell what is the particular location. For that, you need to have the map. It is must to include. So must will come into the include relationship. Optional, exceptional. As I told you, it may happen. It may not happen also. So it may happen, what I have to do. Then it will come as your exclude relationship. And another two new type of relationship is nothing but your initiate and participate. So initiate in a sense, who is going to start that particular use cases. So once I started use cases, who is going to participate into that? That comes as the participate relationship. So once your use cases, everything is done, then the next step what you have to do is about your identifying relationship among the actors and the use cases. So once you have identified the type of use cases, whatever is going to happen, then you have to go either it is for extend or it is include or it is initiate or participate. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Until this is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'll just wanted to tell you some points over here. So in case the person who is going to make notes for this, identifying relationship among actors and use cases. So he is going to say that one relationship among the actors and use cases is going to be developed. So there are three ways of relationship can be implemented. One is first is communication relationship. Another one is include relationship, extend relationship. So what is that communication relationship? Communication relationship is going to have two types of relationship inside that. One is initiate relationship and participate relationship. So what is initiate relationship? What is participate relationship? And you have to show this diagram and explain the diagram with 2 or 3 lines. Like field officer is going to be the person, actor who is initiate the report emergency, and the dispatcher is going to be the actor who is going to participate into the report emergency, and dispatcher is an actor who is going to initiate open incident and allocate resources. This much content is more than sufficient for answering the first point. Second, what is mean by extend relationship? Extend relationship comes wherever there is a condition, extension condition or exception condition. So what is the diagram for extension condition or exception condition? After this diagram, you can just say that when this will happen, when suddenly your connection goes down or your mobile doesn't have a battery. So then you have to understand the scenario, what is happening. Then you can use your extend relationship and this diagram is fine. Similarly for include also. This much content is more than sufficient for your examination point of view. You cannot write the complete 3 paragraph or 4 paragraph. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So those who are going to take the notes, again, I'm specifying, go through the content and maximum of under, if one topic is having 4 or 5 main subpoints, under 4 or 5 main subpoints, minimum of 5 to 6 points should be there, is more than sufficient. Don't try to have more number of paragraphs to that. Yes. So next I'll continue with that. So now, if you need to have an extend and include relationship, what might be your thought to have an exclude and include relationship? So to use your extend relationship, obviously it is clearly shown here. It is an exceptional or optional or seldom occurring behavior. Means like it will not happen every time. It may happen sometime. If that is happen, what you have to react it. Then that type of things is used through extend relationship. And what is the include relationship is for shared across 2 or more use cases. That is, your view map can be shared across 2 or more use cases. And when you have to use your include relationship is that when it is must to have inside that particular use cases. You can have one use cases like, you remember your inheritance concept and all in your Java, single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this extends, include and all will come under the picture of inheriting. It is already there. I'm trying to use the same thing inside my particular program or project. So it's like kind of an inheritance only. So you have to find out what exactly the scenario, for which scenario you need to have a certain relationship, include relationship or exclude relationship, right? So once all this relationship is done, then you are going to identify the objects. So analysis objects, here it is not normal objects. You are going to find out the analysis object, which we will be detailedly studying in the next module, but we'll have a brief introduction to that. So what might be in the analysis object? First, once your users start collaborating, that is when he started implementing it, or he wants to understand the terminologies to be added into your project, you have to develop, I mean the developer have to identify the participating objects of the use cases. Once I have defined the particular use cases, next level I have to go who and all is going to participate in that particular use cases. The objects have to be find out. So like actually we will discuss this complete things in the next chapter, but here they have given a small introduction about that. So many developers will be having a set of definition, or the developer will have different types of meaning for certain objects. So you have to find out this is the object, the particular, if you are trying to give one name for an object, that name should be unique for the complete thing. You cannot have the same object name again and again, which may be confusing for the developers. So you should not have like that. For that, you need to do the analysis of the object parts. So if this object is involved in this particular operation, what exactly this is going to happen? If this is this is used in your next, I mean another scenario, what might be happen? Like that, you have to I mean you have to design or analyze the object before you're going to implementing the project. So this analysis object, where I can get the clear idea, I will be coming to the next chapter. After requirement and situation, we'll be having analysis. You will come to know the clear idea about your analysis object. So what is the meaning of analyzing object, initial analyzing object? You have to find out what are the objects is going to involved in a particular use cases. Then you remember your sequence diagram. You remember your sequence diagram, interaction diagrams and all. It is like object level diagram. Means like a particular subsystem, how, or particular use cases, how it is going to react, or particular scenario, how it is going to react. Then it comes as an individual objects participating. So how that objects, how to name that object, how the responses of the responsibility of the object will be analyzed. All these things will come into the next chapter. So here they have given a simple example. This is like a simple example over include relationship and extend relationship. So where you have to exactly use it, where you don't want to use it, like that they have given. But here they have given the questions for analyzing objects. So what is the questions for analyzing objects? Like, you have to clearly understand the use cases, the terms of the use cases, and you have to know, as I told you, the name of the use cases should be, it should not have different, I mean, the same use case name should not repeat. That is the first thing, because same use case name, if it is keep repeating, the developers will get confusion for which use cases, what type of scenarios are grouped together. So that should be done, and it should have the proper entities. That is, entities is nothing but the object, the name of the real, why it is object oriented software engineering. I think you people will remember that. So exactly in the real world, what are the entities name, the same entities name have to be replicated in your projects also. So like that, you have to find out the object's name and its responsibilities in proper. So that comes as you're analyzing the object. So what might be the participating objects in my, for example, I'm asking you, what might be the participating objects for report emergency? There is a fire has happened. Who and all is going to be the participating object?
Field officer,
Okay.
dispatcher.
Okay. Then now I'm asking you to do the sequence diagram for report emergency. For report emergency, what and all the objects you will have in your sequence diagram? First, who will be there?
Field officer.
Yes,
Field
field
officer,
officer will be
initiate.
there. Okay, so to whom he is going to communicate?
To the dispatcher.
He can't directly
Friend.
communicate to the dispatcher.
Emergency. Through the friend.
The second object will be emergency report or report emergency. That
Emergency.
particular form have to be filled, right? So that is going to be the second object. So once the form is filled, next who is going to be the third?
Dispatcher.
Dispatcher.
So dispatcher. Who is going to be the fourth one?
Allocating resources.
Yes, allocating resources. The resource can be anything. That resources have to be allocated. So from where he will allocate the resources? By seeing the incident report. Like that, we are going to include the objects inside our particular scenarios is called as the analyzing objects. Who and all will be involved in this particular scenario. Here they have given an example. As your dispatcher, the police officer who manages the incident, is going to be involved. Then the report about what emergencies happen, about what incident has happened, that is done through the emergency report. Next, the field officer is a person who is going to allocate means he's going to indicate what incident has happened. Then indicate incident is a database where the complete information about one incident is stored. So these are the 4 objects is going to involve into this particular scenario. Only 4 can be involved. No, you can have, as we told, you can have a resource allocation also, one of the object. So through the dispatcher, the resource gets allocated. Right, like that also can be included over here. So this is the analyzing object. Once you define the use cases, you have to find out who and all or what are the objects is going to involve into that particular use cases. For example, issuing a book from the library, the use case name is issue book. Who and all the objects will be involved into that?
First, students will be involved.
Yes, student.
Then the library member will be involved.
That is librarian, that is administration.
Administrative.
Okay. Next. Database.
Yes.
Library database.
Yes, because once your students requested for the book to the librarian in turn have to check to the database whether the book is available or not. If the book is available, the librarian in turn dispatch the book to the student. So 3 objects are involved in issuing a book. Now, there is another use case like maintaining the library maintenance. Who's the object is going to involve into that? What are the
Library
objects
member.
involved into that?
librarian and database, library
That's it.
database.
So only two objects, librarian and database. So librarian have to update the particular books availability into the database and check what are the books is available and what are the books is already issued to the student. So only two objects are involved. So once you have defined the use cases, once you have done the use cases, you have to find out or analyze what are the objects is going to involved into this particular use cases, which is called as analyzing objects, initial analysis object. These objects only have to be considered at the until the end. No, in between you may required or you can change the scenario. So once you change the scenario, you may include another one object also. So it is like you can come back to the states. When you are going to the analysis part, you can come back to the design part. Once you're going to the design part, you can come back to the requirement part. Like that, you can refine the stages in every time whenever you had an issues. Right? So this is like cross checking the use cases. What is the use case exactly? How I can have the actors information? Who is going to create or modify the object? Like so many informations you can get it and you can analyze the objects. So next one is like you have to find or identify the non-functional requirements. So far we have discussed about your functional requirements. Now we are coming for the non-functional requirements. So non-functional requirements is also an important requirement, but exactly will not be included in the function, but it is also involved in the function, right? So what is mean by non-functional requirements? What and all we have studied as non-functional requirements, you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Usability, reliability, supportability, performance, implementation. All these things is comes as your non-functional requirements. So what is exactly is required for the non-functional requirements? As a general layman example is like how the car color, what is the car color? What is the size of the car color? I mean, what is the size of the car? How many seater it is? So all these things is comes as the non-functional requirements. It is not exactly used in the functioning of the car, but this is also required for the car. Like that, we have certain non-functional requirements. So if I want to define the non-functional requirements, these are the category we already seen in detail about that. So if it is usability, what is the usability means? What is the level of experts of the user? Means, as I told you, user doesn't know to type the message. So if he doesn't know to type the message, what I have to do? So how the usability? It have to go for vocal information. So like that, for one certain category of your non-functional requirements have to be documented, to be identified and documented. So what is the reliability? As I told you, if you have a watch is going to be the product. What is the reliability of the watch? How far my watch will be showing the correct time? How far my dark mode will be exited? Dark mode in the sense blackout or dark mode is nothing but a certain time your GPS will not communicate with your watch, and that time your time will not be visible exactly. So how far it is dark mode will be extended? What is the security requirement of the system? So all these things comes as your reliability. Performance, again, how fast the time will be updated? How fast within a second, how much time zone, if I'm moving from one country to another country, how fraction of seconds the time will be responded for me. So maximum time delay is what? Like that, your performance have to be done. So where can I check all these things? Obviously you have to check in the testing phase. What is the usability? Whether all the usability is achieved, whether the reliability of a system is achieved, whether the performance of the system is achieved, have to be evaluated during your testing phase. So here, supportability. So supportability mean the sense, if I have a version 1 is supported in my watch, now I'm trying to upgrade my system to 4th version. Whether the system will upgrade to the 4th version, or it has certain inbuilt software issues for the updation. That is comes as the supportability. So implementation, what are the constraints you have to implement? What are the constraints I have to check for the implementation? Constraints, constraint in the sense, for example, as I told you, dark mode. If 5 minutes your GPS is not being connected to the device, then what is the time will be shown into the watch? So the worst case, what is the last time zone the watch was updated, the same time will be replicated again. Like that, we have to find out the implementation constraints. And other thing is that the complete product have to be implemented only using Java interfaces. You should not use any other interfaces for implementing. So all these things comes as your implementation constraints. Next, what is an interfaces? As I told you, it is nothing but interface is nothing but how the system is going to be interact. Like your watch have to interact with the Webify watch or the GPS. So what as an interface have to be used? How the communication is going to be done? So whether you need to have an extra files to be added for that, or the existing one is more than sufficient for having an external interaction. So operation, who manages the system? Packages, how to install the system? What are the constraints of the installation? And what are the legal issues, the license, what and all the license you have to. So all these things will be comes as your non-functional requirements, and non-functional requirements is comes as a FERBS category. So FERBS these are the non-functional requirements you have to consider for the FERBS category. FURPS, last time itself we have discussed. So these are the, whether we have to have the answer for all the non-functional requirements. If you are following the FERBS category non-functional requirement, then you can have all the answers for this complete things. Otherwise, you can have only few. What is usability? What is reliability? What is performance is more than sufficient for your non-functional requirements. No need to have all the non-functional requirements answer if you're not having a modernized project or modernized system which is not following for FERBS category, right? So these are the activities which you have to do it for your requirement elicitation. So I'll just come again. What are the activities you have to do it? First, you have to find out the actors. Then you have to find out the scenarios. Then you have to find out the use cases. Then after use cases done, you have to refine the use cases. Once you refine the use cases, you have to find out the relationship among the use cases. Then once the relationship among the use cases is done, then you have to analyze the objects. So once the object gets analyzed, then you have to go for your non-functional requirements, right? So these are the things you have to do as the activities of requirement elicitation. Next point, next topic what we are going to discuss is about your managing requirements elicitation. So this is very simple. How you are going to managing the requirement elicitation. In your normal requirement, non-functional requirement itself, I told you two things are extra over there. One is JAD, another one is traceability. So what is JAD in the sense? Instead of collecting the information only from the client, you are trying to have the client, the project manager, the developer team, the testing team, all the people will be sit together and finalize the requirements. That is called as your JAD. So if you involve JAD into the requirement elicitation phase, the advantage is that everybody will know what exactly the client is expecting and what exactly from the user side they can do it. For an example, if a client is there, so once the client is required some project, the person who is going to communicate with the client may not need to be a developer. He no need to know the project. I mean, how the software is going to be used and all. He is going to be a person who is going to get the requirements from the client, and in turn, he is going to tell to the project developing team, and they are going to implement the project. You remember the communication problem? What exactly will happen if you are not communicate the exact requirement to the developers? You remember,
Yes,
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So to overcome all such problems, we need to have a JAD team. So what this JAD team will be going to do, instead of having only the client, he's going to have everybody, means like the manager, the client, the developer, the testing. So at that meeting itself, the client will be asking certain requirement, and the manager or the developer team will confirm that whether this particular requirement can be satisfied or not. So they can come to a conclusion that what is can be implemented, what cannot be done from the implementation side. So exactly that can be cleared through the JAD design. So they have shown you here one representation of the JAD. So exactly what is going to happen in the project definition phase, what is happening in the management definition guide. So in project definition phase, these are the phases of, or these are the phases or activities of your JAD. So first activity is your project definition. There are 5 activities over there. The first activity is project definition. So in this project definition phase, what is happening? All the people will be there. Your project manager will be there, client will be there, developer team will be there, testing team will be there. All the team will be there, and they will be discuss and come to a final conclusion of what is exactly required for this particular project. That is comes as your management definition guide. So they will be having a guide and they will be finalize what is the scope of the project and what is the objective of the project will be done in your project definition phase. The second activity is your research activity. In your research activity, the complete team will be sit and interview the present and future users. Means who is using currently, if they are using this type of a project, and who are the user going to use it in the future, how it is going to be used, and what are the things have to be included, which is already there, what are the things have to be included further, what are the problems, what are the specifications is required. All these things will be discussed in the research. Third phase is about preparation phase. In this preparation phase, they will going to have a document. The document is nothing but it will be having the complete flow of the session, what are the requirements is required for the project, and what are the teams suggested to have. All that will be in the form of document preparation will be done in your preparation. There is a script, the session script will be happening over to the preparation activity. Next activity is your session activity. In your session activity, what exactly is going to happen? The decisions, whatever the final decision is done, means I told final decision means I need to have 3 actors. My 3 actors have to have the communication with 5 or 6 use cases, and he is going to be the primary actor, this person is going to be the secondary actor, these are the use cases, all that use cases informations, everything will be documented. So that is happened in your session scribe forms. This session, the last activity is your final document. So final document is nothing but it will be having the complete information about what the requirement is needed and how the requirement is going to be divided, how the requirements is going to be implemented, what is the final end product will be. Until that final informations will be documented using the last session. So there are totally 5 sessions or 5 activities. The first one is project definition, second is research, third is preparation, fourth is session, and fifth is final document preparation. So these are the 5 different activities is going to happen in your JAD. So who and all is going to involved in your JAD? JAD is going to use all your client, managers, developers, testing field people, everybody who is going to involve into this project, everybody will be sit together and discuss and finalize the project. So that is comes under your JAD. So here, what is mean by traceability? As I told you, whenever you're trying to withdraw certain amount from the bank, it will be asking whether you need to have another transaction. So why you need to have another transaction question here? Because your system will not allow you to take more than 10,000 rupees in one transaction. If a person may require more than 10,000 rupees in a transaction, so he may continue for the next transaction. So I'm trying to give him an option whether he wants to continue the transaction or not. So my question is, why you are asking, do you want to have another transaction? So my answer is, my system is not possible to allow a user to withdraw more than 10,000 in a single transaction. So if a person wants to withdraw more than 10,000 rupees, I need to give him an option of going for another transaction. So if I included some requirements or options in my project, I need to give the reason for using that. That is the thing is called as traceability. What reason you have using this? So that is called as your traceability. You should know the reference, or you should know the dependencies of certain implementations. For example, here they have shown your satellite watch. So satellite watch currently is having 2-line display, includes time and date. So after the client decides that size is too small, so developers may change the requirement to a single line display combined with the button to switch between the time and date. So why, I'm asking, why you have changed from 2-line display to a single line display? The answer should be, the client feels like the digits whatever it is displaying is too small, so we have changed it to, instead of 2-line display, to single line display. So for every action whatever you are trying to do, you have to find out the reason for that particular action. The dependency for that particular action have to be maintained. That is called as traceability. That's it. So what is the traceability answer? Certain questions are given there. Who originates the 2-line display requirement? Then did any implicit constraint mandate the requirement? Which component must be changed because of additional button? So which test cases must be changed? So if you change certain things, you should have the particular reason for the changing, and you have to have the particular dependencies for the changing, and everything have to be documented. This is called as traceability, maintaining the traceability. The last point over to your managing requirements is nothing but the documenting. So once your team activities is completed, the document have to be done. That is requirements analysis document. This document is completely gives you information about the functional requirements, non-functional requirements, what are the requirements is finalized, and who and all is involved in the finalizing of the requirement. All these things will be done in the documentation form. So that documentation form, you can see here, it is given in the form of a document. What and all should be there inside the document? What are the requirements? Documents have to be included. The first phase, the first section is about the introduction section. It should give the brief about the system. What is the system exactly? What is the objective of the system? What is the scope of the system? Second one, it should describe about the current system. If the system is already in existing state, then what is the current system state? What is the functionality it will support? What are the functionalities not going to support? That is the second one. Third one is about proposed system. That is new system. What is a new system functional requirements? What is a new system non-functional requirements? So that have to be given. What is a system model? So system model is in scenarios, use cases, object model, and dynamic model. So these third session. So third session in turn should have all these things. Overview should be there, functional requirement, non-functional requirements. So all these things have to be documented using a requirement analysis document. So this is the final documentation of your normal process. So once your activities are finalized, your requirement is analyzed, your requirement is finalized, finally from the initial phase to the ending phase, the final thing should be, that is nothing but your project report. Once you completed your project, you will be having a complete information about your project report. That is nothing but your documenting requirement elicitation. So these are the 3 things which you have to do under your managing requirement elicitation. Is it clear?